Dr. Martha Calihan from Five Stones Wellness. Today, I'm going to talk about stress, what it is, how it impacts us, and what we're going to do about it. Stress is amazingly prevalent in our culture right now, particularly after this pandemic, where people have suffered and experienced a lot of stress in the past couple of years, adults and kids alike. So, we're going to talk about what stress is and how it affects the body. It's interesting, stress is actually defined as a change to which the body reacts. It doesn't have to be a bad thing, and a lot of us have this notion that stress has to be from a bad event. That's not really true. There are different sources of stress, and they all can impact us equally. So when we are stressed, the body has a whole set of responses that happen that's actually called the stress response. We don't have any conscious control over the stress response, which is actually an interesting piece of the whole puzzle because it just happens automatically. If we are startled, frightened, threatened, that's when the stress response kicks in. If somebody scares you and you are running away, you might notice that your heart rate would go up. You might have that sense of what we used to call butterflies in your stomach. Your mouth gets dry. All those things happen, and you had no conscious thought or input into that happening in your body. That's automatic, it's hardwired, and it happens in a part of the brain without any conscious control over that. So under that condition of stress, our body physiology shifts into that. And then when the stress goes away, those responses revert back to normal. Our pulse will come down, our blood pressure will come down, breathing slows down. We start to digest better again, and all those things go back to normal. So as I said, any kind of change or threat or situation can cause that response, whether it's a physical threat like being chased by something or being frightened. Other things that are stressful that we think about are the social emotional stressors and people feeling pressured. That can be a source of stress. There are also external things of stress, like where we live, traffic can be a source of stress for people. There's weather-related stress, there's relationship stress, there can be financial stress. All those sources of stress affect our body with a similar response. And it's that stress response, when it gets out of control, that causes what I like to call the chemistry of stress in our bodies. And that's what leads to a lot of stress-related symptoms and even conditions. So when we talk about the stress response, I think it's interesting to think about how we all react a little bit differently to a given set of stressors. Something might happen and I would find it extremely stressful. Somebody else be like water off their back to them. And why does that happen? There's some of that we don't completely understand, but I would think that it's a combination of where you were and what sort of resilience you had when that stress happened. If it's your 18th hit of the day, you might find that more stressful than if the same event had happened to you first thing in the morning. That's not hard and fast, but I think it is a question of the piling on effect. And one of the things that we know about stress is that one of the ways it affects the body is eating away at this notion of resilience. A lot of times I think of it as like a boat in the water with a rudder. And the more resilience you have, the stronger that rudder is, so that then the waves and the wind and the natural things that are going to happen to you don't make you capsize. Or as I often say with my patients, it's like the normal speed bumps of life. If we're feeling strong and resilient and have all good nutrition and not ill, and we can just go over those speed bumps like you would in a parking lot. But if we are at the end of our rope, basically, and overwhelmed with stress, all of a sudden they feel like a mountain. So it's really more about how we are in terms of our receptivity and our ability to be resilient in the face of that stress. And that's really how stress can affect us physiologically. That's where the chemistry of stress can affect us, create symptoms, create problems for us, and it's different in each one of us. And we're going to talk about that in the next video.